Michael. My name is Lucas Wald, and I'm going to do an analysis of your golf swing this morning. Basically, it pains me to watch you move because you have so much more potential for speed and power. If you only understood the movement patterns behind what the elite guys are doing both on the PGA Tour and on the long drive circuit. These moves aren't that complex, and with proper training they can be developed. And you might or might not be passionate about the golf swing in an understanding capacity, but believe you me, if you can see these movement patterns and then get some of the athleticism back in your golf swing, your speed numbers will elevate to those of the elite. And I don't know what your speed numbers are off the tee, but looking at this swing, I would say maybe around 100, 105 miles per hour. There's no reason why you can't get it up to 125 plus. So I've got DJ Dustin Johnson here on the right, you on the left. Note on the setup first, you're in a kind of a slouch position, legs both in flexion. So flexion is just both legs like this at address, and then the upper body's kind of leaning forward. We need to get you more erect, getting the legs more in extension at the setup. So let's run it on back though in the backswing to about right here. And then I'm going to run Dustin back to about the same position. Now, first thing, I want you to watch how I'm going to put a line right here by his right hip, and then watch from here to the top of his backswing how his right hip rotates back. That's called internal rotation of the hip. Okay, let's put the same line here on your right hip, and then take you on to the top of the swing, and you'll see zero internal rotation of the hip. Now, you've probably been coached or taught to keep the hip turn minimal and coil the shoulders back. Well, to create the X factor stretch. That is insanity. And the reason why is because this you're prohibiting your hip turn, thus your shoulder turn is about 45 to 50 degrees, and these guys are going to about 100 degrees. So you're giving up 70 degrees or so, 60 to 70 degrees of shoulder rotation, as well as spine rotation. So at the top of your swing, look at the spine here, how it's kind of straight. Now look at DJ's. I used him on this one because it's a similar camera angle as the one I have of you. So look at the right shoulder here, how it's pulled back in retraction, and look at this nice little rounded spine. So the thoracic spine, or the middle part of the spine, is extended, whereas yours is straight or rounded. And look at the creases in his shirt through here. Okay, so the left scap, the left side of Dustin's back here is protracted or pulled away from the spine and stretched, and the right side is retracted. That creates a powerful setup for the downswing movements. You have very, very little stretch here in the upper body. So also look at this point, I want you to look at how flexed your right leg is. It's like this, and then Dustin's right leg is more extended. That's important as well, Michael, because if you never get into if you never get your right leg in extension or straighter at the top of your backswing, you can never then go down and get it back into flexion, which is then going to allow you to get it back into extension at impact. So you want these stretch shortened cycles from flexion to extension, back to flexion, then back to extension at impact. And I'm about to show you that. So here we go. All right, let's look at transition. I'm going to put a circle kind of where your belt buckle is, and I'm going to put one on DJ's here, and then I'm going to run him on into transition. Now watch how his belt goes down. Okay, so his pelvis is moving from a neutral position to what we call anterior pelvic tilt. It's lowering. The pelvis is tilting forward. So it went from there to now lowered to here. And look at the leg. It went from a slightly extended position to now in a flex position. Okay, so his hips are back to square now, and look at how his shoulders and his arm, so he's still back, the club face is still, or the left arm and the shaft is still here, with this being still tight, right? So let's look at you in transition now. You go from there to here. So the belt moved just very little down to right here, perhaps. And then look at your leg, though. It didn't move at all. It just stayed in a flex state, as well as the left one. And look at how far the arms drop. So you're about right in here, and you have zero stretch here in the left side of your body, the left lat. So your hips have got back to square, and your arms have started down as well. So you've lost this connection with the upper body resistance. So in other words, you're losing energy. You're losing energy from the top of your swing to transition. So all this loss of energy is going to lead to a poor release of energy at impact. So these guys are storing energy and getting ready to turn potential energy into kinetic energy and let it be all released right at impact. You've lost a ton of energy already. So now DJ has lowered the pelvis, as we saw. Both legs are in flexion, so guess what's about to happen? He's about to fire this left hip up. He's going to extend this left leg and pull it back vertically. So let's look on from, let's put the circle back on his belt buckle at this point, and let's go on to impact. What's it going to do? It's going to rise. It's going to extend. Boom. Impact. Okay, look at the left leg. It's pulled back straight. Look at the belt buckle now. It's up high, up in here, with the left hip way up in here, right? So you're down here with the belt. Look at the left leg being in a flex state, right? And then on to impact. Let's see if you do what DJ does. Not quite. So look at impact compared to his. Your left leg is still in flexion. The belt maybe moved a little bit, not much, to about maybe right here. The left hip hasn't done anything. You've just kind of coasted through impact with no rotation, no explosion. Now, after impact, you do seem to, after the ball's gone, watch this, then you rotate. So what's your left hip, what's right in here as after the ball's gone? You pull back. Okay, so what's the use in rotating after the ball's gone? So there's some fundamental things here that if you corrected, you could start hitting the ball like some of these prominent figures on the PGA Tour. Now I want you to look at another example. This guy, his name is Jamie Sedlowski. He's on the long drive circuit. He's about 5'10", 5'11", 165 pounds. Hits it about 400 yards in the air and straight. I've hit balls with this guy. It's phenomenal. So again, we're going to see the same patterns of motion that we saw in Dustin, even though this guy's club head speed is quite higher. Let's run him back. So look, both legs are flexed here at the start. He goes up to the top. Okay, look at the left leg move this way into internal rotation. Let me draw that again. Left leg in internal rotation, right leg extended, right hip pulled back in IR as well. Now watch in transition. So it's going to go from extension to what? Remember? Flexion. Extension, flexion. Boom, boom. So now in transition, okay, let's watch his belt buckle as well. So the legs go from extension to flexion, and the pelvis moves from a neutral position to anterior pelvic tilt. And why is that? Because at impact, we want to be firing up in the posterior pelvic tilt and extending the hip and left leg to release energy. So boom to boom. Now watch, see his belt buckle now, drop right to here, and then both legs are in flexion, like we stated earlier. And what's coming? Well, watch the belt rise. Watch the left leg extend to here. The belt went from there to up in here. And look at the left leg, straight. So very similar to Dustin Johnson, even though this guy has a lot more lag angle, a lot more torque, and a lot more rotation. Okay, so again, we saw Jamie, we saw Dustin. Let's look at even a legend, like maybe a Sam Snead here. Okay, let's watch the legs. He goes up to the top. Right leg is what? Extended. Okay, let's move him into transition. The legs are going to separate like this. Watch the left leg move away from the right. Now the right leg is what? In flexion. The left leg is in what? Flexion. The belt buckle drops. So what's coming? Both the left hip and the left leg are going to extend. The belt buckle is going to rise. So let's just watch that pattern even in Sam Snead. So are you seeing a similar pattern of movement here between a legendary swing like Sam Snead, a current PGA Tour player Dustin Johnson, and even a long drive champion Jamie Sedlowski? All these movement patterns are innate. They're athletic movements that nobody taught these guys. So what we do is we recognize these patterns of movement, and then we train people who do not exhibit these patterns of motion. We train them how to get that back. So especially the better athletes, since these movement patterns are innate, they can get these quicker, and the power increase, the club head speed increase is phenomenal, man. So from here to impact, let's go back and watch Snead. What's going to happen? The belt buckle is going to rise. The left leg is going to extend. Okay, look at the left leg. Completely an extension here. Sorry, to there. The belt went from where that red circle is to what? Up in here. So a similar pattern, right? Now let's watch yours one more time. Backswing to here. No drop down. A little bit of lateral slide. You're not coiled. The right hip is not in internal rotation. The right leg remains in flexion. And then you just kind of coast through and hit the ball with your arms. No extension of the hip, no lead leg extension, no pullback, very little rotation. And then you pull back now after the ball's gone, and then go up to a pretty finish. So this stuff can be corrected.